Imagine you are a Soviet search and rescue officer, standing at the edge of a frozen slope in the Ural Mountains, February 1959. The temperature is 40 degrees below zero. You find a tent, half buried in snow, slashed open from the inside. The 9 people who slept here fled into the darkness barefoot, in their underwear, in the middle of a Russian winter night. They ran away from shelter, away from warmth, away from survival. And every single one of them died. What could possibly have terrified 9 experienced hikers so completely that running into a blizzard felt like the safer option? The year is 1959, and the Soviet Union is at the height of its Cold War confidence. Sputnik has already orbited the Earth. The space race is underway. The state projects an image of iron control and scientific certainty. But in the wilderness of the northern Ural Mountains, something happened that the Soviet government could not explain, would not explain, and actively worked to suppress for decades. The Dyatlov Pass incident takes its name from Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student at the Ural Polytechnic Institute in Sverdlovsk. Dyatlov was not an amateur. He was an experienced mountaineer who had led multiple expeditions into demanding terrain. He built his own radio equipment. He was precisely the kind of disciplined, technically gifted young man the Soviet system celebrated. In January 1959, Dyatlov assembled a group of 10 for a Category III ski trek, the highest difficulty rating in Soviet hiking classifications. Their destination was CROATOAN, a mountain in the northern Urals. The name, drawn from the local Mansi language, translates loosely as "do not go there." The group consisted mostly of fellow students and graduates from the same institute. There was Zinaida Kolmogorova, 22, known for her warmth and her meticulous diary entries. Rustam Slobodin, 23, an engineer of calm temperament. Yuri Doroshenko, 21, broad-shouldered and reliable. Lyudmila Dubinina, 20, the youngest woman in the group, passionate and fearless. And Semyon Zolotaryov, 38, the oldest by far, a veteran hiker who had only recently joined the group and whom several members barely knew. One member, Yuri Yudin, turned back on January 28 due to illness, a decision that saved his life. He was the last person to see his friends alive. He waved goodbye from a small settlement called Vizhay and watched them disappear into the white distance. He would carry that image for the rest of his life. The group trekked northward through January, logging their journey in photographs and diary entries that remain some of the most haunting documents in the history of exploration. Their tone is cheerful, almost playful. They joke. They photograph each other mid-stumble in the snow. The mood in their records is of 9 people entirely in their element, doing exactly what they love. On the night of February 1st, they made camp on the exposed slope of a mountain called Kholat Syakhl. In Mansi, that name means dead mountain. They could have descended slightly to camp in the shelter of the treeline below. It would have been safer, warmer, more protected from the wind. They chose not to. Why? That question has never been satisfactorily answered. When the group failed to return as scheduled, their families raised the alarm. A search party was dispatched on February 20th. On February 26th, rescuers found the tent. It was buried under a layer of snow. One side had been slashed open from the inside with a knife, the cuts ragged and desperate. Inside, the hikers' belongings were still neatly arranged: food, boots, warm clothing. No one had taken anything, they had simply run. The first bodies were found nearby, 2 of them at the edge of the forest about 1.5 miles downhill. They were Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivonishenko. They were barefoot. They wore only underwear. Their hands were burned, as if they had been clawing at a fire with their bare hands, trying to build one or to keep one alive. Between the two men and the tent, 3 more bodies were found. Igor Dyatlov himself, frozen mid-crawl, facing back toward the tent. Zinaida Kolmogorova and Rustam Slobodin, each found separately, each in a posture suggesting they had been trying to return to the camp when they died. Slobodin had a small crack in his skull, but the Soviet coroner initially listed his cause of death as hypothermia. The remaining 4 were not found until May, when the snow melted. They were discovered in a ravine under 4 meters of snow. And what the autopsies revealed shattered every conventional explanation. Lyudmila Dubinina, Nicholas Thiborg-Sprignolal, Alexander Zolotaryov, Alexander Kolvatov. 3 of the 4 had catastrophic internal injuries, broken ribs, fractured skulls, the kind of trauma the Soviet medical examiner wrote consistent with the force of a car crash. But there was no external bruising, no torn skin, no marks that suggested a physical blow from any known weapon or assailant. Something had crushed them from the inside out. And Dubinina had no tongue. Her eyes were gone. Her lips were missing. The soft tissue of her face had been removed. The Soviet authorities said it was decomposition, accelerated by water in the ravine. Many forensic experts have never accepted that answer. The Soviet government classified the investigation files and sealed them. The official conclusion, delivered by investigator Lev Ivanov in May 1959, stated that the hikers had died due to an unknown compelling force. That was it, unknown compelling force. The case was closed, the files were locked away, the families were told to be silent. Lev Ivanov, the investigator who signed that verdict, spent the rest of his life unable to release what he knew. In 1990, after the Soviet Union began to crack open, he gave an interview. He said that he had been ordered to close the case quickly. He said that he had personally witnessed orange spheres of light in the sky above the Ural Mountains in the weeks surrounding the deaths, reported by multiple witnesses across the region. He said he believed something extraordinary had occurred and that he had been prevented from pursuing it. He died without a fuller explanation ever being made public. The files were partially declassified in the 1990s and more fully released by Russian authorities in 2019, when investigators announced a new official conclusion. A slab avalanche had struck the tent, triggering the flight, and the internal injuries had been caused by the compression of snow. The scientific community was divided. Critics pointed out that the slope angle was too shallow for such an avalanche, that there was no evidence of avalanche debris, and that the hikers' own experienced judgment had deemed the site safe enough to camp. 66 years later, 9 names remain carved into a monument at Mikhailov Cemetery in Yekaterinburg. Every year, hikers visit Dyatlov Pass, pilgrims to an unanswered question. Yuri Yudin, the man who turned back sick and survived, spent his entire life searching for the truth about what happened to his friends. He died in 2013, still without an answer. The pass was officially renamed in their honor. The mountain they camped on is still called Dead Mountain. What makes Dyatlov Pass endure is not the mystery alone. It is the intimacy of it. These were real young people with jokes and photographs and dreams who set off into the snow and never came back, and whose final terrified moments can never fully be reconstructed. Whatever they saw, whatever they heard, whatever made 9 experienced survivors of the Soviet wilderness abandon everything and run barefoot into a killing cold, it died with them on that slope. And the mountain has kept its secret ever since. If you found this story remarkable, subscribe. We uncover forgotten history every week.